Testing 1 2 3. Testing 1 2 3. Okay, good. All right. We're going to be starting here any moment now. If you could please take a seat, settle in. We'll officially get started with the board meeting. And while I'm at it, sound is good online? I'm hearing okay. Thumbs up. Very good. All right. Those are legit hiking boots.
Yeah. Danner?
Yeah.
I know.
They're the real deal. They're not poser hiking
Well, they
boots.
kind of are. These are my
Really?
fashion ones.
Oh.
Yeah.
So you wouldn't go out in the backcountry with those?
No, I have my backcountry ones, but these are not.
They're not it. Okay.
No.
They look like they could hold up.
Oh, they are very delightful. I actually thought it was going to be a lot colder today than it was. By the time I was outside on my bike, I was like, oh, this is practically pleasant.
Nailed it. Okay, good. Yeah, we're practically pleasant. That's a good way to put it.
That's all we can take. How are you doing?
Pretty good. It's been a wild February, I'd say. Been busy. It was good. I ended up getting a contract. I got super busy. I just finished it up. So now I'm back in marketing mode. It just feels nice to get busy again.
Yeah.
And I was working on policy, which
you
kind of
love.
scratches the geek bone in me.
Yeah.
Hello, Director Edwards.
Good morning. How are you doing?
Wonderful. Nice bow tie.
Thank
Very
Yeah, I do like
apropos.
that tie.
you.
Yeah.
Very apropos. Where did you pick that up?
Actually, a friend of mine from LA gave this to me.
Sweet.
It is.
Yeah, she gave it to me years ago.
Aww.
That's good.
I should. I never
see.
wear any of my TriMet stuff. I'm gonna.
Oh, I forgot my pin this morning. I was like, ah. And,
You were
okay.
so, but you got it.
No, like my TriMet pin. The
Yeah.
cool little brass pin. All right. Welcome. Hello. Can you hear me all right? I'm going to bring this closer. Thanks to the room setup for the double row of desks. This extra real estate really helps. All right. Welcome, everyone. Let's see. We're going to go ahead and get started now. My name is Ozzy Gonzalez, and I am the TriMet Board President, and I'd like to welcome everybody here today to the TriMet Board of Directors meeting for February 28th, 2024. Boy, how time flies. We're gathered here today at the University of Oregon's White Stag Building campus here in downtown Portland for today's board meeting. And we're also live streaming today's meeting on YouTube, so welcome to everyone from the online sphere. We have, for the most part, an in-person crowd today. We do have Director Lewis online coming in. Welcome, Director Lewis. Can you hear us okay? Very good. And we do have Director Kellogg and Director Y absent today. We may have Director Kellogg joining us later, but that is to be determined. We do, however, have quorum, so we will be moving forward to conduct board business today as scheduled. And so thank you to everyone for being here today with us. We're going to begin, as we normally do, with our public forum. Members of the public who wish to provide testimony but could not be here in person can also join us virtually. And we will be hearing from those that have signed up both in person and online in just a second. And I normally begin with calling up folks to the testimony table 2 at a time. However, this morning, as of last I checked, we had no signatories for the in-person live public forum. So what I'd like to do is just move right into our online folks that have signed up online. So I'd like to invite those, and we have 2 individuals. In this case, we won't be going 2 at a time. I'll just go by name 1 at a time. I would like to ask those that provide their public testimony to limit them to 3 minutes. And I believe we have an online timer that shows, so I'll ask you to attend to that as well. If you are unable to limit your comments to 3 minutes, you may also provide additional comments in writing, and TriMet staff is available to direct you to the email address that you can use to submit your written comments. So we're happy to receive those as well. And now let's see here. I'd like to now go ahead and call our first 2 people testifying this morning. And again, we'll go 1 at a time, so if you could please unmute your microphone and begin your public testimony when you hear your name. The first individual is Tim Nakayama. If you could please unmute and join us for the online
Okay.
public forum.
Good morning. Can you hear me?
We can hear you. Yes. Welcome, Tim.
Yeah. Thank you. Good morning. My name is Tim Nakayama. I'm a lifelong resident of Portland, Oregon, and I've been a rider of TriMet for nearly 50 years. I bike commute to Vancouver for the past 22 years using multimodal. My concern is about communication and failure to adequately communicate with riders and interagency communication, particularly with CTRAN. The liaison has not been communicating with the CTRAN about stop closures, and the construction company definitely hasn't been doing that. But my biggest concern is the failure of the TriMet supervisors and dispatchers to adequately inform riders of cancellations and reroutes. Multiple times over the years, I've been at a stop and with a reader board or using the TriMet transit tracker and also scheduled. Oftentimes, it will be grayed out with an estimated time of arrival. Sometimes the bus or train won't come at all, and sometimes it will. An example of that was recently, I was at the FX stop on 12th and Division going eastbound, and it said the next one was scheduled at a certain time, and it kept going down, and then it didn't come, and it went to the next time. And I waited another half an hour, and then it said the next bus was at 5 in the morning. So I started my way up, and then a bus finally showed up, and they said there was a out water main. I had looked online, I had looked at my emails, I subscribed to many different forms of communication from TriMet, Twitter, X, the emails, and there was no notification. So particularly troublesome late at night or during adverse weather. You know, the driver said that they completely skipped all the stops by the Telecom Bridge. And that happened during the inclement weather as well. And no riders were notified of this. So riders could be stuck at a stop with it saying scheduled repeatedly and then be left in the lurch. So I would like the board to take steps to address these discrepancies and to look at improved communication with the riders. It's 2024. We have amazing technology at our disposal. I love the fact that I can see when the bus is going to be there early or late. But if I'm left in the lurch waiting at a stop for hours, it's not very pleasant as a longtime rider. This also happens in the hot weather when the MAX is not going. And I've been talking with TriMet customer support, and they say, well, if we think the bus might not make it, we might say scheduled. I'm like, how can you know that it might not make it? It just doesn't make any sense to me. So thank you for your time. Thank you for your service. Thank you for that ability to track rides, but I wish you could communicate better with riders. I'll be following up later to see the progress on this. Thank you.
Thank you for your feedback, Tim. I appreciate that. Next on the virtual public forum, we have Jade Paul.
Hi,
Jade,
can you hear me?
Yes, thank you. Welcome, Jade.
Thank you. Hi, TriMet Board. My name is Jade, and I'm a graduate student at PSU. I'm here today as a transit-dependent daily user of TriMet services and as a social worker in the community who works with low-income and marginalized folks who are experiencing disproportionate adverse effects from the recent fare increase. I come here with two main concerns we all share. TriMet's stated looming budget deficit, which may start to impact services as early as 2026, as well as decreased ridership numbers that as of September 2023 still operate at 2/3 the capacity compared to pre-pandemic levels. Your recent fare increase, as well as your planned additional future increases, are not financially sustainable. They will not increase ridership numbers, and they place TriMet's budget deficit burden on marginalized and low-income riders disproportionately. As mandated by the Civil Rights Act, you conducted your own Title VI equity analysis of this fare increase before it was implemented. And as you know, the results were concerning. Your report concluded that 63% of low-income riders, as well as 52% of higher-income riders, will take fewer trips due to this fare increase. This report also found that minority and low-income riders experience more than a 10% greater adverse effects than non-minority and non-low-income riders because of this fare increase. It's time to solve this revolving financial and equity crisis which consumes TriMet and work towards a sustainable long-term solution that distributes the burden of this deficit more equitably. Fares currently only account for 7% of TriMet's total budget. In your adopted budget for 2024, you've allocated $11 million in fare enforcement efforts for fare boxes, new ticket vending machines, as well as $12 million for fare revenue administrative services. With a proposed collection of $56 million from fares this year, nearly half of the money collected from fares goes directly back to fare enforcement. The money you earn from fare collection does not go towards solving the budget deficit, but it goes back towards enforcing fares. TriMet should stop collecting fares in order to conserve finances wasted on costly fare collection efforts. Additionally, to fix the equity issue this fare increase has caused, TriMet should alter the metro tax you receive, which already accounts for the largest part of your budget, from a flat tax to a progressive one. So folks who are already struggling the most don't feel the highest burden of these continued fare increases. TriMet needs to explore funding alternatives. Increase the fare subsidy work groups you already have to assess alternative financing beyond fares. Conducting more research on alternative income sources is essential to the sustainability of TriMet. I know she's not present, but I also just want to take a moment to extend a thank you to the sole opposition vote, Kathy Y. Kathy, we see you and we support you, and we really appreciate you listening to your constituents in the overwhelming public opposition to this inequitable fare increase. Your support means a lot to the lower income and marginalized folks in our community. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony, Jade. This concludes, I believe we have no other folks signed up. Okay, this concludes the public forum. And I'd like to now move us to the open business meeting. Let's begin with board reports. I'd like to first start with our accountability committee. Do we have someone who's going to be giving that report?
Yes, I will fill in for Director Kellogg today.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Let me
General
just-
Counsel Devine will be filling in for Director Kellogg.
Thank you, Director Gonzalez. So the Accountability Committee had its first meeting of 2024 on January 24th, just after the board meeting, and all committee members were present, including our newest member, which was Director Kellogg. He had just joined the committee. So at this meeting, because it was his first meeting, I provided him an overview of the Accountability Committee, what its purpose was, how it formed. It's been in existence now about a decade, and we walked through some of the deliverables that we'd had originally and that we continue to have now. So that was the first thing that we did. The second thing we did was committee member Darlene Graham, our Director of Internal Audit, presented an overview of the 2023 reports of the abuse hotline. Just for those of you who may not recall, but we do have a fraud, waste, or abuse hotline. It's anonymous. It's administered by an outside third party so that all reports are confidential and anonymous. And we looked at what the reports were for 2023. Of the 16 reports that were received in 2023 through the hotline, all of them were what are classified as a Type 2 report, which are not your traditional fraud, waste, or abuse reports. So it's clear that people know about the hotline and are using it, but those reports were mostly about human resource issues or safety and security issues, and they were fielded to the appropriate division for follow-up. After Darlene presented, we then had Information Governance Senior Analyst Dan McGuire give an overview of all 2023 public records requests. We are back to pre-COVID levels. We had over 700 public records requests in 2023, and he gave us a pie chart and snapshot of not just the volume, but the breakdown of what types of public records requests we receive. Committee member Dave Whipple provided us with some statistics around the accountability and transparency website itself. In December 2023 was the most recent snapshot that we had. The areas within the site with the highest number of page views included ridership and performance, about TriMet, the public records request log, and past board meeting minutes. And then during the meeting, we also reviewed the accountability and transparency website itself to look for any redundant or outdated material and updated it accordingly. And our next accountability committee meeting is scheduled for June 2024, again, right after the board meeting. Thank you. Any questions?
Thank you for that report, General Counsel. Do we have any questions from the board or comments? Okay. Well, next, thank you once again. Next, I'd like to invite Director Edwards to provide an update on the latest meeting from the committee on accessible transit, otherwise known as CAT. Director Edwards.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good morning. We had a very good CAT meeting. We talked about many different issues. One of the concerns was the design of the buses and having input into that. And I know I tend to sound like a broken record on that, but I think it's very important that, and you're going to continue to hear it, that CAT members need to be involved in the early design process and to make sure that we don't forget things, and we're making sure that everyone is being considered when we do design the buses, and for access and for just transporting folks on the buses as well. We had a great presentation on the IBR, but that went long, and we're going to have a subsequent meeting as well so we can get the rest of the information on that. Again, there was a concern that was brought forward regarding the CAT members having input into that. Advisory is what has been shared with us, and we expect that, but at the same time, we want to make sure that we have those considerations that are seriously considered, considering all the billions of dollars that are going to be spent on the IBR. And so that was the, and like I said, there will be a follow-up meeting, and I'll have more information on that as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Edwards. Any questions or comments about the CAT report from our board? All right, hearing none, you know, I do have one for the record, just a clarification. For those that are not familiar, IBR is a gargantuan capital improvement project that is involving the interstate bridge. And so IBR means Interstate Bridge Replacement, and it's going to be a very large project for our region. Thank you, Director Edwards. All right, next I'd like to invite Director Kim to provide us with an update from the Metro Policy Advisory Committee, otherwise known as MPAC. Director Kim?
Thank you. At the January MPAC meeting, Metro staff provided an update on their work to create a priority climate action plan as part of the EPA Carbon Pollution Reduction Planning Grant. Metro is compiling this short-term plan to include the most promising strategies and projects to reduce greenhouse gases in the region. Metro also discussed its annual report on the status of compliance by cities and counties on the requirements of the Urban Growth Management Functional Plan, also known as UGMFP. This report included updates on urban planning projects in Happy Valley and King County and detailed the cumulative effect of these plans on employment, land in our region. Finally, an expert panel on urban growth management addressed the committee to answer our questions and help us advise the Metro Council on its regional growth management decision in late 2024. We'll meet again tonight to discuss Metro's garbage and recycling system facilities plan update and the draft regional population, household, and employment forecast. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Kim. Any comments or questions from fellow board members? I see none. Thanks for that update. Look forward to hearing what happens at this follow-up meeting. There's certainly a lot of garbage to deal with out there. All right. Now I'd like to invite Director Lewis to report on this morning's Finance and Audit Committee. Director Lewis, the floor is yours.
Oh, thank you, President Gonzalez. Good morning, everyone. The Finance and Audit Committee meeting was this morning at 8 o'clock after large cups of coffee and tea for those who had tea. It was pretty full agenda. First, we had a mini PowerPoint presentation on our budget briefing from Nancy Young Oliver. The proposed budget will be in the mail to the board next week. Yeah, make sure my notes. But the mini PowerPoint really reviewed some of a quick overview of our resources and our requirements, including our fund balances. Next, Cara Fitzpatrick presented an annual investment policy. She reviewed pretty much 4 main areas. There will be an additional presentation today. The full investment policy will be available for the board to review for the upcoming vote at our next March meeting. But there will be a small presentation today that was very good. And she will look at those 4 key areas that are having some changes. Next, Shelley Devine did present on OPEB trust resolution that we will have next month as a resolution, but there were two components that she shared. One is the expansion of eligible employees that will be included in the trust resolution, and then the approval of administrative committee that will oversee the resolution, the trust. That information will be presented to us in our upcoming packet next month. Let's see, what else? We also had a presentation on our annual service plan, and we did have a good discussion on the night bus concept. There was good information discussion on how we are planning to roll that out to our committee, to our committees, our community, our stakeholders, and making sure that the key point of adding the additional night buses, it was, shared that we have one, we're going to many. Alan indicated that a lot of the night buses will be, the prime reason is to promote some more equitable time to maintenance on our light rail. But there was an excellent mini presentation with lots of information that'll be coming to the board soon. Lastly, there was an update on the collective bargaining process from Nate Holton and Kim Sewell. And that concludes the F&A report.
Thank you, Director Lewis. Any comments or questions from fellow board members? All right. It was indeed an action-packed meeting. So to my fellow board members, stay tuned for some information from the agency. You'll be seeing the proposed budget as well as the proposed changes for policies coming up for our next meeting. All right. Thank you very much, Director Lewis. And with that, that concludes the committee reports. I'd like to now turn to our general manager for his monthly performance report. General Manager Dessou, the floor is yours. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't see that. Pardon me.
Sorry, General Manager. I just want to clarify, the Transit Equity Advisory Committee did not meet this month, but the team is working very hard and having one-on-ones with the members of the committee to talk about next steps and making sure that committee continues to perform and work really well for everyone involved. So.
Thank you, Director Frisbee. I neglected to bring that onto the record. Yes, that was the reason we didn't have the reports from Director Frisbee. So thank you. We look forward to hearing how those conversations go and what happens next for the Transit Equity Advisory Committee. With that, General Manager, the floor is yours.
Thank you, and thank you, Director Frisbee, as well. Just want to make sure, can you hear me? Is it
A little bit.
okay? It is on. It's the green light that's on currently. Good morning, President Gonzalez, members of the board, community partners.
I think they can't hear you.
We'll switch it around.
Oh yeah, that one sounds more live. I know, something was up.
I'll just slide over a little bit.
Oh yeah,
It's much better.
You're mic'd up.
Absolutely. Sorry about that. Morning, President Gonzalez, members of the board, community partners, TriMet staff that's here this morning, and the public. Thank you all for being here with us. In my report this morning, we're going to share some timely information on our January ridership, a technology update, a new way for riders to save money with HOP. We're going to give an update on our progress on a Better Ed project, and then we're going to share some buzz around our newest electric buses just pulling into Portland. And then we'll celebrate an award recognizing TriMet work to really break down barriers for small businesses and contracting. So let me start with ridership. January ridership was severely impacted by the extreme winter weather, what we experienced last month, as well as the major MAX service disruption still underway with the Better Ed project. Despite these factors, TriMet provided more than 5.1 million rides or trips in January, and our ridership was up more than 7% over last January. So I want to repeat that again because I heard the customer say earlier about ridership. Our ridership was 5.1 million in January, but it was up more than 7% over last year, despite what we went through with the weather issues.
Wow.
So as we continue to work to grow and regain our ridership, we're always looking for ways to make it easier to access the system. So for years, riders have been able to tap a contactless credit or debit card or their smartphone to the HOP reader to pay their fare. It's a quick and easy way to purchase adult fare without needing to stop at a ticket machine or have exact change to ride a bus. Now, a new innovation with our contactless payment option brings a major new benefit, and it's the ability to earn a month pass as you ride. As with the physical and virtual HOP cards, those who use their mobile wallet or chip-enabled payment card can ride free for the rest of the month once they reach the monthly cap. This does only apply to adult fare, and riders need to tap the same credit card or debit card each time they ride. But it's just another convenience to make riding easier. We're also using the rollout of this new benefit to increase awareness of PN directly with a credit card or smartphone. And don't worry, our HOP Fast Pass cards aren't going anywhere. This new option simply extends those benefits to additional methods that are used to pay fare. So more innovation, making it more easier for riders to ride with us. Now I'd like to give you an update on a Better Red project. Construction is nearing the end of the line in more than one way. The current disruption to Max blue, green, and red lines will wrap up this Sunday. We will definitely thank our riders for their patience and understanding as this 7-week disruption has been especially disruptive. It was necessary, though, to really finish the work on our first new Max station in nearly a decade and really connect new trike and signaling equipment to the existing light rail system at Gateway Transit Center. So really consider this for a moment. Our system has quadrupled in size since the Gateway Transit Center first opened in 1986. It's our busiest transit center, and the Better Red project is really helping it become more efficient. On March 4th, we will open a new Gateway North Station, and it's going to connect to transit centers, to the transit center by a new pedestrian pathway, and we're going to put the reliability portion of the project into operations. That's going to help keep trains running on time throughout our interconnected MAX system. As the current disruption for a Better Red and other MAX improvements wraps up, we are alerting riders to what we currently believe is the last disruption needed for the project. This one will be much smaller, and it's going to focus on work necessary for the Red Line extension in Hillsborough. For that, the Max Blue Line between Orenco Station and the end of the line in Hillsborough will be disrupted for 9 days, from Saturday, March 16th through Sunday, March 24th. And the extension portion of a Better Red project is expected to open in late August. So we're really looking forward to that open there. For that, as we expand service, we're adding some new trains, what we call our Type 6s. Testing continues to make sure that they're safe and reliable once they go into service. As we are accepting delivery of more new trains, we're saying goodbye to some of our oldest trains. We are decommissioning the Type 1s that have served us well for almost 40 years. And we have many of those trains, they've had commemorative plaques installed just outside of the operator cab. And we're attempting to get those plaques to the families of those honored. So I want to share with you today a touching video produced by one of our public information officers, Tyler Graff, about plaque from car 107. And I want you to hear that car 107 and the story behind it. So please play the video.
I've been on train 107, I think, 3 times in my life, and one was for my grandfather's funeral. I do remember being on that train nicely dressed and ready to celebrate my grandfather's life. My name is Michaela Jensen. I am the granddaughter of the first director of rail transportation, Bob Douglas. He was the man who made everything happen. It's just gonna go with the collection. There's no price value I could put on it.
My memory was always riding TriMet as a child, up until I was her age. Had the picture ID, all that stuff. When the weather was getting bad, our dad would be like, I've got to get to the garage, got to get those chains on, I've got to get those buses out there. They wanted to make sure everyone was safe. That was their biggest goal.
They started solving the problems that that we now no longer have to face because they took care of it. The MAX system that we knew back then is not the same system as today, and the system it is today will not be the system it will be in 30 years.
Every time I even saw 107, I said hi to them. Working downtown, I see the MAX often, and I always look, and I don't think I will never not look. Their memory lives on through all of this memorabilia and wonderful things such as that plaque. TriMet has just always been almost a rock for our family. We can always rely on them for transportation, but also taking care of our family. TriMet gave us that opportunity.
Absolutely amazing.
Beautiful.
While we say goodbye to our oldest vehicles, we're saying hello to our newest ones, and it's the latest generation of long-range buses that's coming. You may remember the purchase of these 24 zero-emission buses. They represent the first bulk purchase of vehicles with battery electric technology. We've received a handful of these buses to date, and we're going to go through testing before we put them into service later this year. These electric buses that you're looking at on screen, they're being driven roughly 650 miles from one of Gillig's manufacturing sites in Livermore, California, to Portland. And yes, the buses did have to stop and charge on their way to Portland. But the trip it's a significant milestone in itself. So these next generation buses, they have a 33% boost in energy storage that equates to a longer range. And we really need them. Once we put them in service, though, we expect these buses to run about 150 miles per charge. And these buses are really creating a lot of buzz. When we post about them on social media, and there's really a lot of excitement from within the organization and also within our communities about that, and that's with good reason as we move forward into our future. Next, I want to announce, very excited and thrilled about announcing 2 new members of our executive leadership team who's going to be instrumental in our Vision 2030 and goal to substantially increase ridership. First, someone the board is very familiar with, who is being officially promoted to a permanent executive director, and that's Dan Blair. He's been graciously filling in as the interim executive director of maintenance since last March. And while he's been pivotal in moving our maintenance division forward, he's been really proactively problem solving and really improving our maintenance efforts. He is needed in another very important role that goes hand in hand with maintenance. So I'm thrilled that Dan has accepted the executive director of our transit system asset management division. And Dan has really promoted up through the ranks, through the TriMet ranks for the past 30 years, since starting as a light rail vehicle mechanic. His extensive knowledge and his technical ability is really going to help us with this new division that is focused on assuring maintenance controls and really oversight of our TriMet assets, which you see that we're replacing our trains as they've reached their life expansion. So it's really needed, and the quality transit services to our community. So I want to congratulate Dan here. Second, also, I want to provide to you our new executive director who's going to lead the maintenance division. His name is John Weston. And John, if you could stand up so everybody could see you. John is, let's give him a round of applause. John is new to TriMet, but not to transit. John has nearly 40 years in the transit industry. That includes maintenance, quality assurance, construction management positions. Both John and Dan will report to our Chief Operating Officer, Bonnie Todd. And just to let you guys know, I didn't have Dan stand up, which you've met with Dan. He's not able to be here. He's out sick, but John's here, and I just really appreciate you and Dan, and we're very happy to include both of them on the team. So another round of applause for them. And then finally, I just want to take a moment and share news of an award for our procurement team. It's acknowledgement of their hard work. It's been done here at TriMet to really increase opportunities. And this is something that for increase opportunities for our small and minority-owned businesses through contracting opportunities with our agency. And we did it through partnership, education, and the one thing that proved to be incredible beneficial is really listening. By taking time, listening to the challenges and the concerns of our small businesses around contracting with an organization like TriMet, we were able to identify new pathways to success. So a big congratulations to this morning to Chief Financial Officer Nancy Young Oliver, as well as our procurement and supply chain manager, Les Spittler. So if you guys could stand up, give them a round of applause. And your teams as well. Again, this award, and we'll definitely bring it forward, this award really recognizes the work that the team has done to bring this new approach to contracting policies and processes that remove barriers to participation. And just one such opportunity can really begin to change the trajectory for these small businesses and their employees. And I want to thank Director Edwards. He showed up to the Small Business Network, he and I, last week, and we actually presented the award at the network to Les, and Nancy and I did that. So really congratulations. Thank you for being there as well. But this is who we are. This is who we are, and just want to thank all of you for leading the way on this here. And with that, President Gonzalez, members of the board, that concludes my report for this morning.
Thank you, General Manager Dessou. Does our board have any questions or comments for General Manager Dessou on the report? Director Lewis, I'm going to check in with you. Okay, thumbs up. Yes, Director Frisbee.
Thank you for that report, and congratulations for everyone on well-deserved accolades and new congratulations and condolences for new responsibilities. But one comment I did want to make, I think just given our conversation last time, is how impressive it was to see the ridership numbers for January, given everything that the TriMet team had to deal with. And I think it also underscores how important TriMet is in those moments. And so I know we talked a lot about it this time, but I wanted to take another moment to acknowledge all the work and all the effort that people put in and remind them how important and needed it was. I also was heartened to see the streetcar ridership numbers. Their increases up in the double digits for the first time in a while. And I wanted to emphasize that because TriMet thrives when our transit system thrives. And I think our transit system thrives when our streetcar system thrives. And so I'm glad I appreciate that those numbers are considered as part of the total package that we're reported out to. And I just want to emphasize how important I think it is that we all work together in that space, because I can tell you riders don't know what they're getting on. And any gateway drug is an excellent gateway drug to the transit world. So just wanted to highlight that.
I love your comments. I really appreciate that. And the key piece is TriMet is really leading with revitalization of downtown and really putting Vision 2030 out to get people excited about where we're going and what we're doing.
Thank you. And I simply wanted to underscore, I think, what I consider to be a great through line in your report today, General Manager Dessou. And it's really about how we are increasing our value to our riders in this technology upgrade. I can tell this is going to be, I think, an easier vehicle for those out there who ride, to not only pay the system, but also to take advantage of the capping that is baked into this process. So for those that weren't aware, I think hopefully this elevates awareness about the fare capping program, and certainly helps get riders not only on board, but leveraging all of those subsidy programs that are in place to help offset the cost of ridership. I also want to point out, I think, what I consider to be a very touching approach to retiring our old vehicles. And the video you shared not only shows how we are connected to community in very deep ways, but how in honoring those connections, we really help underscore the importance that TriMet as a system represents to our region. It's more than just providing those rides, and it's the livelihoods and the connection to place that these services do for us as the public. So thank you for bringing that forward, and thank you to the family that contributed to the video for showing how important TriMet is to them as a family as well. It's lovely to see that, there's generations behind this system, and I think it's wonderful that we get to share that in this transition from one system or one vehicle type to another. And finally, I just wanted to say thank you to the procurement team. Congratulations on the accolade. And it's great to see your efforts being recognized out there in the industry. I also want to say your efforts are being recognized in the business community locally. I've already heard some great feedback from local businesses about that outreach event. I'm hearing from more businesses that they're excited to do work with TriMet, and so I look forward to the stories of how business with TriMet impacts those businesses to come. So thank you so much for all that work. And so with that, I'd like to move us now to the next item on our board business. I'm looking to the sides. Okay, very good. Looks like we're ready to move into some more board business. So kudos all around to the agency. Now let's turn to the consent agenda. Items appearing on the consent agenda are considered routine and may be approved by the board in one blanket motion. And in this morning, the consent agenda includes two items. We have approving the minutes of our last meeting from January 24th, and we have resolution number 24-02-08 that is authorizing an additional change orders to the Stacy and Whitbeck Construction Management General Contractor Services contract for the Banfield Track Rehabilitation Project. Does any director wish to have any item removed from the consent agenda before we proceed?
Move to accept the consent agenda.
Thank you, Director Edwards. We have one motion to approve the items in the consent agenda. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you. It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion before we move to a vote? All right. All in favor of approving the items on the consent agenda, please do so now by saying aye.
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 All opposed? Any abstentions? All right, hearing none, motion carries. Thank you very much. And now we're going to move to the resolutions on the regular agenda. Let's see, the next resolution to come before the board this morning is resolution number 24-02-09. That's authorizing the transfer of appropriated funds from within the fiscal year 2023-2024 budget. Mr. General Manager, do you have any comments on this resolution?
President Gonzalez, members of the board, when TriMet drafts, I don't know if I'm on or not.
It doesn't sound like it.
Test. Okay. There we go. Oh, we'll just keep this one over here. How about that?
Thank you.
Be prepared, you might get hot mic.
Okay, let's start over here. So President Gonzalez, members of the board, when TriMet drafts our annual budget, it's based on the best available information at that time before actual revenues and expenses are known. Therefore, during those times, during the fiscal year in which we may need to transfer funds internally to match revised expenditures of our divisions. So let me stress that this is just an internal transfer. The overall amount of the TriMet budget you previously approved does not change. The resolution before you now would approve the transfer of about $7.5 million in funds previously appropriated to the Safety and Security Division for FY 2023 and 24 annual budgets to the following divisions: the Legal Service Division for Hollywood Transit-Oriented Development and the Substation Project modifications to One Main Place, and really the mapping and survey work. Also to the Public Affairs Division, we're going to bring in more on-street customer service representatives who's going to help increase presence and also contribute to the sense of safety and security on our transit system. And then to our Information Technology Division for the replacement of an aging mission-critical transit radio system equipment. So the Safety and Security Division has funds available, especially due to the ongoing national police shortage and recruitment into the Transit Police Division. It's being hampered by that. So that's not to say that filling the transit police positions is not a priority, but the division has sufficient funds to make these transfers possible for the current budget year. So the transfer does not have a financial impact on the overall FY 23-24 budget, and I recommend your approval.
Thank you, General Manager Dessou. Does anyone wish to make a motion to approve resolution number 24-02-09?
So moved.
Thank you, Director Frisbee. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Director Kim. It's been moved and seconded. Does anyone wish to make a comment or raise questions before we move to a vote?
Can I ask a quick question?
Yes, of course. Director Frisbee, I have a question.
I don't know if this question is for Andrew or if it's for JC. It's fast. It's very short. For the public affairs, the field outreach and community relations representatives, I'm thinking of the picture you show in your presentation where we have everyone in their different color vests. This is a new vest color, right? Okay. So filling a sort of new role out in that space.
That's exactly right. Yep. And I'll just say the public affairs team has done a really good job of explaining the different roles and what people are accomplishing out there. and brought that forward, and there's going to be more communication about that. But this is an opportunity for us to increase presence and develop partnerships alongside security, which have been really successful so far.
Yeah, and it's to clarify, it's not a new vest color. It's actually extension of our on-street outreach team. So they're already on the system. You see them a lot at the airport or at big games, Blazer games, Thorns Timbers. So it's an extension of that team.
Got it. That's very helpful. Thank you.
Any other comments or questions? Fantastic. I appreciate the resolution helping to address and reconcile the budget. I know that each year we anticipate to see these kinds of reconciliations once we have much more clarity about where funds are being needed. And I understand that we're not limiting our commitment to public safety and security in this budget allocation. It's a perfect time to remind the community we're not just looking for operators, we're also looking for folks to help join the ranks of safety and security. So consider joining TriMet. With that, are there any other questions or comments before we go to a vote? All right. All of those in favor of approving resolution number 24-02-09, please do so now by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right, hearing none, resolution passes unanimously. Thank you very much. Next this morning, the board will consider resolution number 24-02-10, establishing the Accessible Transportation Fund Advisory Committee to replace the Special Transportation Fund Advisory Committee. So, General Manager Dessou, can you please elaborate with some comments on this resolution?
I will, and I'm also going to have some help as we talk through it. President Gonzalez, members of the board, during the special session of 2020, the Oregon legislature adopted a bill directing ODOT to consolidate the Special Transportation Fund, or STIF, STIF, with the Statewide Transportation Improvement Fund, which we call STIF, STIF. STIF came about with the passage of Keep Oregon Moving, also known as HB 2017. Both of these funds had corresponding advisory committees that advises TriMet and the board on the allocation of funds. The resolution before you today would dissolve the old STF advisory committee and create a new Accessible Transportation Fund Advisory Committee in line with state law. That advisory committee will consist of the former STIF advisory committee members and will be a work group that reports to the HB 2017 Transit Advisory Committee. The Transit Advisory Committee will continue to advise the board on the STIF plan and allocations of STIF funds that now include the former Special Transportation Funds, or STF. So Tom Mills, he's going to come up, and he's the Director of Mobility Policy and Planning, and he's going to help connect the dots for us.
Good morning, President Gonzalez and TriMet Board. My name is Tom Mills. I'm the Director of Service Planning at TriMet. And I want to start by blaming ODOT for calling these funds STIF and STF. It's very confusing. If we can go to the next slide. So going back to 1985, the state created a fund called Special Transportation Funds. And these funds are, the goal of these funds are to fund transportation operations and capital improvements for older adults and people with disabilities. These funds come from taxes and fees on cigarettes and ID cards, not licenses, but an ID card, and gas. And gas in particularly, not the gas that you put in your car, but into non-auto uses like a boat or your lawnmower. The funds are dispersed throughout the state based on population, and the funds, the state requires that we set up an advisory committee for how we allocate these funds. And so since 1985, there has been a committee called the Special Transportation Funds Advisory Committee, which we also refer to as STFAC. And those of you who have been on the board for a few years have seen me or others come to you with a list of projects that have been approved by this committee and asking for your approval. Next slide, please. So then in 2017, the state created the Statewide Transportation Improvement Fund, what we refer to as STIF. And this funds transit and operations and capital expenses throughout the state. It is funded through a payroll tax of 0.1% on all payroll. And the funds are dispersed based on where the payroll is generated. So whereas STF, Special Transportation Funds, is dispersed based on population numbers, this is dispersed based on where the payroll is generated. And this too also has an advisory committee called what we refer to as the HB 2017 Transit Advisory Committee. And this committee also advises directly to the TriMet board. Next slide, please. In 2020, the legislature passed SB 1601, which actually merged the Special Transportation Funds into the STIF program, the Statewide Transportation Improvement Funds. As a result, Special Transportation Funds, or STF, ceased to exist as of July 1, 2023. They are now in the STIF program. And so the STIF program is now broken up into two buckets, so to speak. One is the traditional payroll-based formula funds, where those funds are, the payroll's generated. And the other one is now population-based payroll formula funds, which are formerly the STF. And this, of course, there is only one advisory committee for STIF, that is the HB 2017 Transit Advisory Committee. There is no need for an STFAC, STF Advisory Committee anymore to the TriMet board. Next slide. However, we do still want to draw upon the expertise of the members of the old STFAC committee. And so what this resolution is doing is it is dissolving the old STFAC committee, and it is creating a new committee called the Accessible Transportation Funds Advisory Committee. So now we're getting rid of S and F and STF, getting rid of all that, so it's a little bit less confusing. And it will now be called the ATFAC. Rather than advising directly to the board, it will advise to the HB 2017 Transit Advisory Committee, which then advises the TriMet board. It will essentially be a subcommittee, although the ODOT guidelines are that we refer to it as a work group of the HB 2017 Transit Advisory Committee. And this resolution designates that all existing members of the old STFAC now are members of the ATFAC because, again, we do want to draw upon their expertise. It adopts the bylaws from the old committee, and it just so happens we have a vacant position on the committee, so we're using this opportunity to fill that position. Next slide. So just to help make it a little more clear, the way things have been is we've had two committees that advise the TriMet board, and the next slide will show what we're suggesting is that we have the ATFAC, which used to be STFAC, advise the HB 2017 Transit Advisory Committee, which will then advise the TriMet board. So it kind of streamlines things for us. Any questions?
Yes. Thank you, Tom. As I uncross my eyes a little bit, Director Frisbee, please ask your questions.
I just wanted to congratulate everyone on getting through that. And actually, Tom, in all seriousness, really appreciated the memo you and your team put together. I have worked on various components of all of those, and I still found it incredibly helpful to have it all written down. So thank you for, all things considered, a relatively succinct way of working through that process. Congratulations to the general manager for getting through that resolution. And also, congratulations to Kelsey for her, I don't know, appointment or I don't know what the proper term is, but new role on the ATFAC. And I know we will look forward to working with her for the benefit of the region as a whole and helping everyone move around both systems efficiently. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, and I'll simply add, thanks for the graphics. They really help understand what's going on.
I thought they might.
I'm all for streamlining. Any other comments or questions? And we've already, from a procedural stand, yes. Director Lewis, I didn't see you waving your hands in the air. Please.
Thank you. Excellent report, and thank you. I do have a question. Can you walk back through the steps on how the new bylaws will be, I guess, revised, updated, who's responsible, and how soon, and et cetera?
Thank you for asking. So in this resolution, the only updates to the bylaws are largely just to explain the transition, as well as to change, STFAC or to ATFAC. Should there be additional updates to the bylaws, the ODOT guidance gives both the TriMet board as well as or the advisory committee, what we call the HB 2017 Transit Advisory Committee, the ability to update. We've come to you for this because we're also dissolving an old committee. At your guidance, if you would like all the bylaw changes to come to you instead of the HB 2017 Transit Advisory Committee, we're happy to do so.
Thank you, Director Lewis. I'm not hearing that suggestion. Director Edwards?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for that presentation as well. My question is the TriMet board going to still see the report that goes to HB 2017 committee?
Yes, it will be part of the presentation of the STIF plan. So all of the recommendations that the ATFAC makes will be incorporated in the STIF plan, and it will be presented to you as part of that.
Okay, thank you.
And on the heels of that question, thank you for that question, Director Edwards. When is the next time we would anticipate to hear recommendations from the committee?
So we are just kind of kicking off the new STIF planning process. The STIF plan is due to the state in January of 2025. And currently, we have to kind of wait for revenue projections from the state. We have some preliminary ones, but they're going to give us more refined later in the year. So I expect that the ATFAC will be meeting in the summer to make recommendations. That will go to the HB 2017 Transit Advisory Committee sometime in late summer or fall. And then we would be coming to you absolutely no later than the end of the year, December. That is the absolute last minute. I hope we can get it done before then.
Thanks for the heads up. Any other questions or comments before we proceed to a vote? All right. All of those in favor of approving resolution number 24-02-10, please do so now by saying aye.
Do we have a motion?
Oh, did we miss that part?
So moved.
Well, okay. Somebody's paying attention. Very good. We got right into the comments and discussion, didn't we? Then I would like to...
So moved.
Seconded.
Thank you, Director Edwards and Director Frisbee. It's been moved and seconded. Do we have any further comments or discussion before we move to a vote? Pardon the out of sequence process there. I'm sure Robert's looking down upon me now. So with that, I'd like to now move us to a vote. All of those in favor of approving resolution number 24-02-10, please do so now by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay. It is approved unanimously. Thank you very much for the presentation. Okay. Now, the board will consider resolution number 24-02-11, authorizing a contract modification with Raymore Construction LLC for construction manager general contractor services for the Hollywood Transit Center infrastructure project. General Manager, your comments, please.
Thanks, President Gonzalez, members of the board. The purpose of this resolution is to authorize a contract modification with Raymore Construction for CMGC services for the redevelopment of the Hollywood Transit Center infrastructure project. This is a project that you've heard a lot about. The scope of the work includes the redevelopment of Northeast 42nd Street as a public plaza, as well as a new stair and a ramp structure, a new bus facility, and a traction power substation that's at the transit center. The board selected Raymore as the CMGC for the project and previously approved resolutions authorizing early construction, work, and procurement activities. This resolution provides the next step in the contracting process. It requires a modification to the contract to be approved, the negotiated total contract price of $12.2 million for construction services. This price includes a change order authority of $1 million. Approval of this resolution will bring the total amount of the revised CMGC contract to approximately $22.3 million. Raymore has 64 employees, 81% report being part of a minority group, 17% are female. The firm plans to use COVID-certified firms for about 60% of the work. That includes Raymore's share, as they are a certified minority-owned business enterprise. The amount is included in the legal services FY24 budget, and pursuant to the board's approval of the earlier FY24 budget transfer. I recommend your approval.
Thank you, General Manager Dessou. Do we have a motion to approve Resolution 24-02-11?
So move.
Thank you, Director Edwards. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Director Kim. Now that we have had a motion and a second, I'd like to move us to discussion. Does any board member have comments or questions about this resolution? I'm not seeing any. Director Lewis, just checking in. Okay. With that, I simply have a comment. I think that it's great to see this project getting to this stage, and it's wonderful to see the diversity numbers coming through on this project. I'm really, really happy to see the business community participating on this. I've met several businesses that have had an opportunity to work on this project already, and the things to come are promising. So I look forward to seeing the next steps for this project. Congratulations to the team that's been involved to date, and I can only hope that this project helps stir more interest in TOD, transit-oriented development, and I encourage other agency partners out there with some real estate along the transit corridors to come forward and help us bring more TOD to the table. And with that, I'll also recognize Director Kellogg, who's joined us. Welcome, sir.
Thank you. President Gonzalez, I apologize. Everybody had a court hearing this morning.
I'm glad to see that you've made it just in time. We are currently on Resolution 24-02-11. It has been moved and seconded. We've had a brief presentation, and we were just in comments. Prior to going to the vote, is there any other comments or questions around this resolution? All right. Well, with that, I'd like to move us to a vote. All of those in favor of approving Resolution 24-02-11, authorizing this contract modification with Raymore Construction, please do so now by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right. Hearing none, motion carries unanimously. Thank you very much. And now, I'd like to move the board to consider Resolution number 24-02-12, authorizing a modification of the shared use agreement with Portland and Western Railroad for the ongoing West Side Express service, known as WES operations. Mr. General Manager, your comments, please.
President Gonzalez, members of the board, this is the final resolution to consider this morning, and it comes in regards to WES. TriMet has a 50-year shared use agreement with Portland Western Railroad for the operations and maintenance of our commuter rail service. Portland and Western and TriMet share ownership of the tracks, where WES operates between Wilsonville and Beaverton, and Portland Western provides services for WES operations and maintenance. The resolution before you today would authorize the execution of an amendment to the shared use agreement and establish update billing rates for Portland and Western services for 2024 through 2029. The estimated 5-year total is budgeted at $22.6 million, and there's a breakdown of those amounts year by year in your packet. Amendments to the agreement are processed through Finance and Administration and reviewed and approved by Legal Services Division. The cost of WES operating services are budgeted annually within the Transportation Division's operating budget, and your approval of the resolution is recommended.
Thank you, General Manager Dessou. Before we move to a discussion, do we have a motion to approve Resolution 24-02-12?
So moved.
Thank you, Director Kellogg. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Director Lewis. It's been moved and seconded. Now I'd like to move us to any comment. Does anyone on the board wish to make a comment or raise questions before we vote? Yes, Director Kellogg.
Thank you, President Gonzalez. So in reviewing this material, it looks like every 5 years these rates are adjusted. The last 5-year period, I think, was $12 million, and then this 5-year period is $22 million. So that seems like a pretty, and I know it's all based on a formula, but I didn't get any of that background, and it just kind of jumped off the page at me, so I wanted to verify those numbers.
We will. I have Darren Morris, who's our Director of Commuter Rail Services. Darren? Darren, push
microphone, please.
Sorry.
Thank
you. Good morning, Board. Darren Morris, Director of Commuter Rail Operations for TriMet West Commuter Rail. Could you please repeat the question? I didn't get the question.
Yeah, so it looks like for the previous 5-year period, the total was $12 million, and for this upcoming 5-year period, it's projected to be 22. So I know there's been inflation. I think everybody knows that, but is it that bad? What's the benchmark that they're using?
The previous resolution and amendment to the shared use agreement was for a 4-year term. This one is for a 5-year term. And when you add that with considerable inflationary costs, a new contract with their union for wages, and then the overhead that they're having to pay due to inflation, that's the reason.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, Director Frisbee.
I'm going to make a comment that's going to scare you, so you can just nod and you don't have to respond. But I will say I support this resolution moving forward. Support Wes's work. I, in my transit planner nerd dreams, would love to see a ballot measure. It is the least sexiest measure you could ever put forward to the voters that lets us buy all of the railroad right-of-way for operating transit. I think it is likely the most effective thing that we could do to implement transit projects quickly and address transportation needs across the region. I'm just going to put that out there. You don't want to respond because that's probably terrifying. But that is my secret dream, sometimes late at night. Thank you. Sam, you don't even have to pretend to write it down. I just like to put it out into the world when I can.
Interesting idea. Sounds like a rife for conversations in one of our future strategy sessions.
I can tell you the voters do not like it.
Led by TriMet. Wow.
Any other comments or questions? Yes, Director Edwards.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I had a question regarding the assumption of the rate of increase. If that is not realized, what happens with that if it's not as projected or as assumed?
The amendment to the shared use agreement is, these are estimated costs. We pay what they actually bill us on an at-cost basis. At-cost includes wages and overhead. So over the life of a 5-year agreement, overhead costs can go up, they can go down. But we pay actual cost on an at-cost basis. And this is purely an administrative resolution and amendment for budgeting purposes for the next 5 years or so. We get estimated costs from Portland Western on an annual basis, and of course, we budget on an annual basis.
So it could be 4%?
Over the life of the agreement, it can change, yes, based on their overhead costs.
Okay, thank you.
Director Kellogg, you had a comment?
Yeah, just in the spirit of following on Director Frisbee and putting at risk a project that serves my own district, I couldn't help but notice in the revenue numbers at the end that the cost per ride for Wes is going back up again. I know we've got low ridership, so I'm just putting this out there as something for the board to consider over the long term strategically is what can we do with this existing asset to make it more utilitarian to people? Is that adding stops? Is that connecting to other things? I know there's discussion about extending to Salem and onward, but I just want to keep that on our radar as something that is important, because when you look at the financials, it's kind of a red spot.
I'll comment. It's absolutely top of mind for us. As we're looking at Vision 2030, we're going to be looking at how can we boost ridership and get people to actually utilize that service there.
Thank you for that comment, Director Kellogg, and I think you illustrate a valuable point, I'd say, top of mind for board as we go into Vision 2030, as we're allocating operational funds. I think the dollar per ride or the cost per seat becomes a metric that we can look at, even though it's very different to compare rail to West to streetcar to bus. It, I think, gives us a benchmark to be able to reflect upon. Well, thank you. So I look forward to continued conversations on this. Are there any other comments or questions regarding this resolution before we move to a vote? All right, seeing none, I'd like to now have us vote on Resolution 24-02-12. All of those in favor of approving this resolution, please do so now by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right, hearing none, the motion carries unanimously. Thank you for the presentation. All right, those are our resolutions for today, and this formally concludes our business meeting for today. We do not have a briefing today either, so I'm going to close our business meeting, and I look forward to seeing everyone at our next regular business meeting to be held in March, which is scheduled to occur at the Clackamas Community College Harmony campus. For those that are coming out, I look forward to seeing you there, and until then, I hope you have a safe ride. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. That concludes the board meeting. Thank you so much.
How did the hair go? I've been obviously got to.